Welcome to the first episode of our Driven by ISUZU Passion podcast. In this podcast, we will be sharing stories and people will talk about their journey with the ISUZU brand. We want to connect with our customers and also educate many on the much loved and reliable ISUZU brand. With me today in studio, I have an ISUZU executive. I will let him introduce himself.
So my name is Dominic Rimmer. I'm responsible for technical operations, and what that encompasses is product engineering and manufacturing operations.
Nice. Welcome, Dom, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Seka.
Awesome. So tell us, how long have you been with the brand?
Well, I've been here just less than 40 years. I started in 1982 as a pupil technician. And what a pupil technician was that for 6 months you studied,
Okay.
and 6 months you did your practical.
Oh.
And that you needed the practical to actually qualify as an engineer. So I started working in engineering at that point as a pupil technician.
That's such a long time that you've been with the brand. Can you just maybe share with us how you've seen the brand evolve over time?
Yeah, look, ISUZU and myself have come a long way. It's been an interesting 40 years, let me say. I've worked in various areas, but predominantly in the technical fields.
Yes.
And when I started, it was called General Motors, and then it evolved to Delta Motor Corporation, then back to General Motors, and then finally with ISUZU. But all through that, there's this common thread that ISUZU, the brand, was there from my day one until my current time. So I've worked on ISUZU, supported ISUZU in the field when I was in after sales.
Oh.
And I've been here since Gen 1. So I'm now in my 7th generation of pickup.
My goodness, that's a rich history.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. So just take us through your journey with ISUZU from when you started 40 years ago.
Yeah, look, 40 years ago it was only the kickoff point for me. My father worked for the same business.
Oh, really?
And he was responsible for truck engineering. And he also had 40 years service. So I heard about ISUZU even when I was at school.
Yes.
And my dad used to bring trucks home, and I used to drive to school in trucks. And interesting, at that point in the localization project in South Africa, the government insisted that none of the powertrains used in any trucks could come from the OE. It had to be built locally. Okay. And that's where the start of ADE engines came from. So it were and Eaton transmissions. So all trucks had a local ADE engine.
Yes.
And transmission. And my father was responsible for that re-engineering.
Wow.
Putting the ADE engine into the ISUZU trucks, and then again when it changed, putting the ISUZU engines back in. And so he spent time in Japan. So I've got a long history and photographs of him in product meetings, and now interesting for me now to go in the same product meetings. Obviously not meeting the same people, but going through the same process.
The same route.
But I started, as I said, as a pupil technician. And my first jobs there, driving cars on test tracks. I remember we used to have a proving ground in Kucha.
Yeah.
And being the youngest guy, they always give you the worst jobs. So I would be driving the truck, fully laden GVM on an off-road track, while the technician was watching me from the sideline. So that was my first job. Then I worked in the service garage as an apprentice,
Okay.
mechanic, under their supervision. And then eventually I went into engineering, and then I was moved to after sales because I wanted to bring more technical people into the after sales. And that was still in Gen 1 time, and I had the fortunate experience of being based in KwaZulu-Natal, going to see and service all our dealers there, and see customers that were using Generation 1 and what the issues were at the time. And one of the biggest issues we had then was corrosion. In those days, the skin panels didn't meet the same performance requirements as today. So we had, in different areas of the country, we had rust problems galore. So I spent a lot of time with customers trying to appease them and convince them that we're going to fix it, and working with the dealers to fix these kinds of things. After a while, then I went to sales and marketing.
Interesting.
After about 4 years, and I was in dealer development.
Okay.
See, a lot of the young people at ISUZU don't realize that I can actually work in sales and marketing. But
my goodness, it's so good to know.
It was interesting. I was in dealer development, and it was at the time of expansion.
Okay.
There was 3 of us out there going to all parts of the country trying to start dealerships. And I was given the responsibility for Namibia and parts of Gauteng.
Okay.
And I was fortunate to be part of developing new dealers in Namibia as well as in the Johannesburg area and Thorpe down in Cape Town. I was responsible for opening that dealership with Nicky Thorpe and his brother. It was a fantastic experience because we were free to do our own thing.
Yes.
We were let loose in the market, and we went out there and found prospective guys that were interested in the brand. And some we onboarded, some we didn't. But it was a really interesting time for me. I learned such a lot about the dealer business at that time. And, you know, when you interface with dealers, they're a very interesting bunch of guys. And, you know, they're vested in their businesses.
They are.
And, you know, they are key partners. And we've got to treat them accordingly.
Exactly. They're an extension of our brand.
Of our brand. And
exactly.
They know their business well.
100%.
After that, I came back to Port Elizabeth or Kobega, and I was running motorsport.
Okay.
I ran motorsport for about 3 years and then went back to engineering, back to my roots. And that was really the foundation of developing a vehicle engineering department. We reconstructed engineering completely.
Oh, wow.
And I was responsible for vehicle development. And then I went, as I said, off to Brazil. Then came back to product planning. And I had the fortune, as I said, to launch the 6th Gen, but I also launched the small half-ton pickup for Chevrolet at that time.
Wow.
But yeah, and then, you know, I was responsible as well for the whole of Africa planning in those days. And I used to travel to Kenya, I used to travel to Cairo, because we were responsible for the whole portfolio for the whole of Africa.
Yes.
I've had fantastic experiences working with Isuzu and with the Isuzu folks. I've got many good friends back in Japan and Thailand.
Yes.
And we still talk to each other, and whenever we see, we celebrate seeing each other again. So it's been a wild journey, lots of challenges. But when I look back, and I forget about the bad things.
Of course.
Because there's so many learning opportunities. And people sometimes forget that, you know, you've got 2 ears and only one mouth. And you should be using your ears more and your mouth less. You wouldn't think that now when I'm talking non-stop here, but there's so much to learn when you travel and see things
100%.
and see people and see how they do things.
Yes.
No, fantastic opportunity, and I've had a great career. You know, from where I started to where I am today.
Yeah.
It's been an interesting journey.
So rich, so beautiful. Beautiful experiences that you've have as well. Wow. So I believe that obviously with your experience, and you've been with Isuzu since day one, you were also part of the planning department. Can you just tell us about that journey?
Yeah, look, I was in planning from about 2010. That's when I came back from Brazil. I was working there actually on the 6th generation development between Isuzu and General Motors. Okay. And I was the vehicle performance manager based at the proving ground, responsible for vehicle integration. And vehicle integration is pulling all the systems together and validating the overall vehicle performance. So it was really interesting working with the Isuzu guys and the GM guys. Yes. Always with an ear for what we needed in South Africa, and working on the product and seeing it from, you know, concept to final release.
Wow.
And then I was fortunate enough when I came back from Brazil, then I was responsible in planning for program management of the 6th generation. So I got a chance to develop it on the design and development side, and then do the launch in the market. So it was a cradle to grave for me.
Wow.
So it was a very interesting story, and a lot of good experience I got through that time.
Sounds like
and it was good to see the product evolve.
Wow. Okay. So on the planning side, obviously, just take us through, because I believe Isuzu uses local components as well.
Absolutely.
Especially in South Africa. Tell us more about that. I mean, how do you source these components? Where do you go? What do you do? And how do they positively impact our products?
So maybe I'll start on the product planning side. You know, within product planning, there's two kind of spheres. One is planning, and the other is execution.
Okay.
And the planning side is long-term planning to plan a portfolio that'll take you through this generation and into the next generation.
Okay, so just to cut you there, how long do you take to plan for a generation?
Normally it takes you about 2-3 years to plan it, because you're coming off a base, you know. You're doing research in the market, customer clinics, listening to what they say, the positives, the negatives, what they want to see in the future, why they consider your product, why they don't consider, and then using that information, that intelligence, to determine what you need in South Africa or Africa, really, for the African market needs. And it's different depending on which market you're servicing, what customers need. What they need in Thailand is very different to what we need in South Africa.
Okay.
So it's setting up that portfolio. Then it's when you actually get the green to go with that project, is then the execution side, which is the program management. And that's cross-functional across the company, sales, after sales, manufacturing, engineering, everyone working on a common project to bring it to market. So that's in the program management field. In terms of the engineering involvement in the plan and the support they do, they design, release components. And design and release, design is easy to understand. Release is getting the drawing out there, getting it to suppliers so they can quote on it, making sure it's a competitive quote, component meets the requirements. Then you localize, get the local parts, fit them to the vehicles, and then do the validation, which is testing that they will meet the market needs. So there's a drawing requirement, but it also, when you put it under test, it's a different condition to normal laboratory test. Customers drive their vehicles different to what it was originally designed for. So you can see issues and challenges, and in this development process, then you can address those kind of shortcomings before it gets to the customer. To make sure that you don't upset customers when they get their product, and you don't pay warranty costs and all these kinds of things. So it's an evolution, and every generation we do goes through the same process. Design, development, release, validation, and then we will start working on model year changes to make sure that customers see changes to stay enthused. Because customers want different things, and if somebody's got a newer product, they consider it. So you got to keep fresh for customers too.
It's so interesting how you always have the customer in mind when you're designing and producing these products, making sure that what you put out there is fit for what the customer is always looking for. So Dom, sourcing and finding local parts for these vehicles can't be easy. Can you just tell us about that as well as testing it for African conditions?
So both of them are not easy to do. When we look at localization, we look at the benefits for Isuzu, and what are the benefits for the customer, and what are the benefits for the dealer. And so typically we will localize components that are frequently reused. In other words, service kind of components, crash parts. Nobody wants to have an accident, but there are accidents. And what you don't want to do is have that customer waiting for parts to come. So we focus on that. And then high cubic components, because you're shipping these parts across in containers. How do you get more efficiency? What's better to localize? So it all comes down to a business case in the end. But so we localize where we need to be different to Isuzu for our specific market needs. What it makes sense to support the aftermarket in terms of service, maintenance, and crash parts. And then what makes sense from a business efficiency perspective. So whenever we go out and localize, we know what is typically localized for these kinds of benefits. And in South Africa, we've got a very mature supply market. And so we know who to go talk to localize these components. We've got a target to get to 60% local content by the time we get to 2035 to support the APDP. At the moment, we're running at about 40%. So we've got some journey to go. But, localization comes with volume.
Of course.
Because you need a business case to localize. So we're continually working on that. So we localize in all commodities, powertrain, body, accessories, interior components, where it makes sense and where there's a specific need for us to localize. But there are localized suppliers in this metro. There's quite a few suppliers, obviously, in Gauteng, because they've got other plants based there, and also in KwaZulu-Natal. Most of the suppliers are shared by all the OEs. There's very few suppliers that got a dedicated supplier that only supports them, because it makes sense to share, opportunities where there's opportunities to localize. But it's a big focus of us. Making a project work, you need to localize because it brings benefits to the business cases.
It's very interesting. So can you tell me then, in the Isuzu products, what are you doing in South Africa to make sure that the products are fit for South Africa? Different conditions, considering weather, considering everything else.
Yeah, so what we normally do is we know who the key competitors are.
Yes.
We know where the volume is being sold and what customers need. So it's to compare ourselves to them. Where do we want to be better? Where do we want to be the same? And then you set your performance targets related to that. Now, obviously, that has to be jointly with Isuzu because they're ultimately responsible for the design.
Of course.
So we set ourselves targets to achieve. And what we know from customer feedback in clinics is what key for South African customer or an African customer. It's reliability, durability, it's being with you for the long run. And the Isuzu product we design and develop is to make sure that that product delivers on that brand essence.
Yes.
And so what we do is we go out there, compare, we take all the products, we put them through their paces, where they're better, where they're worse, where we're competitive, and what we need to change. And then we put it through what we call a durability test, which simulates 100,000 kilometers of typical customer use in the market.
Okay.
And we see how the vehicle stands up under those conditions. And we put them through gravel road driving, 4x4, tar road, ride and handling, noise and vibration, sand, all these kinds of things to expose any concerns or any weak points that we need to work on. And typically we find unique things that Africa needs to address. Dust is something we need to improve as we go forward with the release. Ride and handling.
Yes.
Tire design. Because typically customers in other markets are on highway. Our customers are farmers, agricultural use, industry. They need an all-terrain tire to be able to go from gravel to tar and back from tar to gravel and not have punctures and have the reliability and the durability to make sure you get the right mileage out of those things. So there's small nuances in the market that you need to address and change. Another one is security. Our requirements in this country are different to other markets.
Sure.
So there are things that we put together are critical for our needs and things that are nice to have.
Yes.
And we focus on making sure that we deliver on the critical items
100%.
And then how do we get the nice to haves done.
Yes. That's very interesting. So just moving away a little bit from work, tell me some of your best memories with the Isuzu brand.
Yeah, look, I've got many best memories.
With 40 years behind you, I can imagine.
In different times, different jobs, I've had great memories.
Yes.
But if I think back, my development assignment in Brazil where I worked on the 6th generation, it was a fantastic experience, fantastic learning experience for me. And then bringing back that knowledge to roll it out to the team, for them to understand the process. I think introduction of some unique products that we were first to market with. We were the first with an SUV that we introduced.
Nice.
And we won a lot of customers with that. Introducing a double cab, introducing direct injection diesel, on the fly 4-wheel drive. Isuzu used to lead in those technical areas.
Really? Wow.
And it was always exciting to be on the forefront of that technology. Of course, the most exciting thing, and for us now, all of us employees, is that Isuzu took us to heart and continued to make this business work by the buyout of General Motors and turning us into Isuzu. I think every one of us are grateful, thankful.
100% we are.
And for what they've invested in us, the faith they've put behind us. And I think every day as we demonstrate and deliver, they're getting more confidence in us. We're getting more credibility. And it's all about delivering on your promise. And it's delivering us as employees, delivering on our promise to Isuzu, but also the product has to deliver on its promise in the brand.
Yes.
Being with you for the long run. And that's our essence. Every product that goes out the gate has to deliver that to the customer.
And that's one of the things we're very proud of.
Absolutely.
As a company. And we continue to make sure that reliability is something that makes us stand out in the market. And
it's ingrained in our employees. It's not only something that it's a marketing thing.
No, it's not.
Our employees that are building vehicles, our engineers that are developing vehicles,
100%.
all of that in their minds. And our performance targets are based on that. Our quality standards are based on delivering that kind of promise, that brand promise to our customers.
100%. Oh, wow. Such warm stories you have to share with us. Tell me now, talking about employees, what is the culture like in the line? If you look at the production line, talking about the people, what kind of people do you have working there? What is the culture like? What is the vibe within the plant?
Yeah, I think we've got committed employees. We've got motivated employees, engaged employees. And it's borne out every day you walk down the line. You know, people stop you, talk to you. Some days they bring the boombox in and they start playing their music and you can hear them singing.
Wow.
They're a happy bunch of employees. We bring visitors through the plant. They'll come around and engage with them.
Oh, that's so
and
nice.
show them what they're doing because their job is important to them. And I think sometimes what the team members are doing is seen as a menial job. But at every operation they do is critical to delivering on our brand promise.
Yes, 100%.
And you know, I'm proud to work within the technical field when I see our employees, how committed they are, what they do every day. Because it's not easy work.
It's not.
It's not easy work, and it's complicated work. And that they pitch up, smile on their face, delivering on their objectives, and then come home to their families. And that's our commitment, to make sure we deliver them home safely after the shift. So now I see so many things every day, and I hear so many things from our employees. And maybe they don't tell me themselves, but I hear it from their supervisors or their leadership. The stories that they've done, the commitments they make. You know, things go wrong all the time. You know, products fly out the door. But a lot of things we have to fix on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
You know that we have port delays, we have weather delays, we have parts shortages, we have load shedding, we have metropolitan infrastructure failures. Today we're running generators. They still come to work every day because they know their purpose. Their purpose is to build vehicles for customers. It's not building vehicles, it's for a customer.
It's for a customer.
And they're really proud to do that.
On a lighter note now, tell us what you're driving.
Yeah, I'm driving a V-Cross. I'm a bucky man.
Okay.
I'm not a SUV.
Not a
guy.
SUV. Okay.
And
okay.
mostly partly because we build the bucky locally.
Of course.
And I think, you know, I'm engineering and
It's
I'm
a pride
manufacturing.
thing,
It's a pride thing.
right?
It's something that I've helped develop.
100%.
And I'm proud to drive it. And it's a fantastic car to drive. I love every minute driving it.
Is it your favorite car?
It's my favorite car. I've had many buckies in my time, but this is absolutely the one. And even when I retire,
Okay. You're
I
keeping
will
your
keep a
V-Cross.
bucky. I'll keep a bucky.
Okay.
Maybe
Good to
not a
know.
V-Cross, but
But definitely an Isuzu, right?
absolutely.
Absolutely.
My wife also drives an Isuzu, so we're proud of the brand, and we want to make sure that everyone that knows our work for Isuzu
Of
can
course.
see the products that we drive.
Of course. Love that. Thank you so much for making time to chat with us today. We really appreciate you making the time, and I'm sure our viewers as well are very happy and are very excited to hear all of these things. What a great company to work for, isn't it? Thank you so much for engaging with us. Thank you for watching today's episode. Until we see you again in the next one.